Chris here in the studio. Blue skies, sunshine, looking good outside. And inside, these two gentlemen look good as well. Look at that, dapper. And you didn't expect me to give you a compliment, did you?
No.
Okay.
Not to start the day.
There you go. I tend to miss those compliments. Don't worry, I'll probably take a poke a stick at you sometime in the segment.
That's
good. They are in the studio with us. Mitch Foster, City Manager of Ludington, with us, and the Mayor of Ludington, Mark Barnett. Mark, thanks for coming in this morning. We appreciate you being here.
Good to be here. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning to you. We're going to be talking over the next few minutes to these two individuals and chatting about updates and things that, are coming up on the meeting agenda tonight that are not on the meeting that may be on your mind. You can always chime in on our Facebook page at WMOM. If you have a question for them as well, we'll try to answer that this morning. I'd like to, talk about, welcome back, Mitch.
Oh, thanks.
First of all.
Appreciate it.
And meeting tonight, what time?
So 6 o'clock.
All right, there we go. And I guess should change the camera angle so you could, it could be Mark. You could mouth the words and he could be doing the thing and do it that way.
Godzilla movie, yeah.
Absolutely. Let's. I just have to figure my buttons on my cameras there. 6:30, 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock, City Hall. Yep. And so any of these topics that we talk about, if you're interested in finding out more or voicing your opinion on it, definitely attend the City Council meetings. Before we even start that. Mark, we're about 45 days. This is 43rd day, I think it is. Yeah, into you being the mayor of Ludington. How's it going?
It's going well. I'm just a lot to learn. Steve Miller warned me, and he was right. It's a good time just to kind of get a lay of the land and figure out some things that are done from this perspective that maybe weren't necessarily done as the chief of police. And so I've appreciated just the opportunity. Mitch has been great about, bringing me up to speed, and just appreciate all that.
Most surprising thing that you didn't expect?
Oh, I'm being asked this question right here. So other than that, everything's just, it just is what it is. Just answering people's questions and concerns and that kind of thing, just kind of anticipated all that. So.
Okay. All right. That's not too bad. Mitch, what do you think? Has he done a pretty good job so far?
Oh, yeah. Okay. I think Mark's done a great job. He came in with an understanding of how things are for the most part. Obviously, transitioning into a new role is a difficult transition, but he's jumped in even into fun conversations like chickens or deer or other things that obviously are not the easiest of topics, but he's at least able to jump in right away and listen and be a part of that conversation. So, no, it's been great so far.
No, that's fantastic. And let's talk about some of those conversations. Tonight, you have an animal nuisance presentation. We talked about the deer call that has now transitioned to every other animal that's out there, from cats and dogs and chickens, right? Is there going to be in this reading something that says, hey, people cannot have this specific animal?
No. Okay. So at least in this ordinance itself, there's nothing specific outlining that you can't have a specific animal that isn't already kind of prohibited. What this ordinance really deals with is we've received a number of complaints from residents with regards to their neighbors feeding wild animals in all methods. One of the concerns that was in there before was a bird feeder issue about, they have to be at least 5 feet, those sorts of things. And so we've tried to make some adjustments there. But in general, it's trying to say, all right, the deer call is not moving forward, but what are some things that we can do here locally to try to prevent them from having food to come in and eat that we are providing? We know of at least one resident that has been feeding deer for years, and neighbors have complained, but we haven't had anything good on the record for ourselves. And so this ordinance is just kind of one little step towards trying to help a little bit.
When you talk to those residents, like that particular resident, do he or she say, you know what, I'm not going to stop doing it? Is it kind of the tough stance? What happens in those conversations?
I think for a lot of them, that's exactly it. And the question when you always draft a new ordinance is enforcement of it. We're not going to have our officers or our code enforcement going into people's backyards and seeing that they've thrown breadcrumbs on the ground. But if all of a sudden a neighbor sees that somebody's attracting, porcupines or raccoons into their backyard because they've got food out there that they're putting out for deer, that's a different issue. And so I think that's what we're trying to figure out here is how do we help prevent some of these things from staying long term.
For those people that have swine, chickens, that has come up in conversation, cats, dogs, particularly a lot of cats, dogs, should they be nervous at all?
No, so this ordinance, and we actually worked with our friends at the Trap and Release, Trap Neuter Release organization here locally to make sure that there was a carve out for them when it came to feeding wild cats, specifically dealing with a Trap Neuter Release program. But dogs and those sorts of things, most of those are already dealt with in other areas of the ordinance. This is really trying to deal with kind of the wild animals a little bit more. But then we do have a separate ordinance dealing with chickens in particular that's moving forward tonight as well.
All right, so lots of stuff in regards to that coming up. Mark, where do you think the city or the citizens in general stand when it comes to this? Have you heard some feedback from them?
Regarding the chickens, you mean? I really think that there's a pretty good group of people that at least can envision themselves wanting to do that and have the opportunity to do that. I think it's a good thing. I mean, some of the things provided for in the ordinance is limiting the number of chickens that you can have. I believe the number's 4. There's a prohibition against having roosters, which of course would create a noise issue and that kind of thing. The people that I've been around in other places with chickens for eggs, it's just kind of a quiet activity, and it works out pretty well. So I would expect nothing different from City of Ludington if the ordinance passes.
Okay. Do you think it will?
If I were gonna guess, I would think that it would in whatever iteration it is. There may be some other concerns that are voiced, but the committee's done a really good job along with the city attorney, city manager to craft this ordinance. I think it's well done.
Mitch, by the time it usually, just for the public, in general, by the time it gets to city council level, as Mark had mentioned, a lot of these ordinances or the proposals have kind of worked the bugs out as much as possible. Is that right in general with the city council here or not?
Yes, I would say so. So we have a committee structure where issues like this might go before a couple of committees just based on them being a licensed activity or dealing with land use, but also dealing with public safety issues. So they went to 2 different committees. Staff review it. The city attorney reviews it as well, kind of working out all those bugs. The chicken ordinance has been a whole nother animal just because of the nuances of that. But yeah, in general, that's it. And I think what I don't know if Mark would agree. I think what I see with this council in particular is they're willing to look at things on pilot situations.
Absolutely.
You've got a 2-year kind of sunset on this ordinance. That if after 2 years we've got one person that's doing it and it's been a hassle. It can, if we don't approve anything after 2 years, then it just kind of goes away. Okay. I think that this council is willing to look at some different things with that idea in mind. And so I think chickens kind of fall right within that. And the work that they've done and that staff has done is really to lead to this point. And then they can have the big conversation about whether they just want to allow chickens or not.
Okay. All right. And I think part of the nuisance from the neighbor standpoint is more of the rooster side, I would assume, right? Or is just chickens in general, like smell or anything like that? What is the issue for the neighbors?
Well, so the reason the nuisance ordinance kind of came about in chickens is kind of twofold. One, we were dealing with the deer situation, and so we were trying to figure out this public nuisance portion of the ordinance. And then on the second end, we had always interpreted our ordinance as to prohibiting chickens. And so we were crafting a public nuisance ordinance that excluded chickens, and then council said, well, hold on, maybe we want to allow chickens, or at least looking at it. So then we separated the 2 issues, created a new ordinance to allow chickens that council can consider, and then created a different ordinance with this public nuisance issue to allow council to consider those 2 separate issues.
We're going to be talking about animals at every city council meeting moving forward.
I know.
But it is what it is.
Yep.
So let's talk about something that happened recently or revisited recently, and that is the vandalism at Legacy Plaza as we turn the page here and move this way. The bathrooms closed now because of the vandalism. I guess my first question is, are we going to eventually figure this out? I think the last time we talked about this vandalism, at least my impression is that you knew, or the police knew, that who was doing it, and maybe it was curbed for a while. Is it maybe the same individuals? Is it repeat offenders? Is it new people? Do we know anything in regards to this?
So I'll tell you that the police department, after we found the vandalism last week, the police department went right away the next day to start reviewing video footage, because we do have cameras outside of the bathrooms over there at Legacy Plaza. Mm-hmm. They are doing their due diligence to determine who it is, what they've done, because timing also matters. Those cameras are on 24 hours, and so trying to figure out timing makes a lot of sense. But the goal is to try to figure out who it is, make them or have them pay for the damage repairs, mm-hmm. And move on and try to take care of, having an open restroom. But, as Mark knows from his previous career, it's not as simple as that. And we have to consider all different situations with this, not just vandalism, but the safety of others. So if vandalism's occurring, the next logical step potentially is, physical damage to the structure, not just, other issues. And so from a staff and a council perspective, I think we're going to really have to dig into this a little bit harder.
All right, Mark, I'm going to ask you to put your chief of police, your former chief of police hat on. How does the police department take this and resolve it and at least discourage people from doing it again?
I think one of the things that's important is community ownership, and this is public property, and I think there's folks out there with this issue and with other issues that have opportunity to provide some information as to who's responsible for it. Frankly, it's somebody ruining people's the city's property, the property owned by the city of Ludington. So I would just ask that anybody that has information to contact the police department just as soon as possible. I mean, that's the most effective way. There's no police department in this country that's big enough to see everything everywhere all the time, and we don't want to be like that. So we depend on a relationship and interaction and input from folks. And so we just ask that they be willing to get on the phone and give a call with that information. And frankly, there are patrol opportunities that the police department has, and they see activity. But the vast majority of the information comes from people seeing something, and it's no different here.
All right. Cost-wise, has there been assessment at all at this point?
I mean, in all reality, I have not seen the full numbers. I think we're still digging into that. But we had a couple of, one brand new baby changing table and another one that were damaged. And I don't know if folks understand. Those are $500 each for those baby changing tables, because they're big. And as I think Mark hit the nail on the head, this is a community piece of facility. It's community ownership. The first people that I hear from in the morning when a bathroom is closed are our runners that are locals that use our restrooms, or walkers. And so trying to have people understand that when you damage a piece of equipment or a facility like that, you're just hurting everybody else. And so whether it's a family member, a friend, or someone else, why do it?
Is there cameras there, at least outside the building, that will shed some light on this?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Okay. Again, it takes time to go through that footage and making sure that timing matches up. But the department is definitely going through that.
All right, let's transition. We talked a little bit about the police force. The police chief search continues, and what are we down to? Candidates, finals, where are we at?
2 candidates.
Okay.
I believe this week we have the assessment center, which is essentially kind of a scenario-based assessment for them. They'll be coming up here. No public interview or anything like that this week, but then next week on the 23rd, we'll be doing a public event at 5 p.m. So, yeah, as of right now, we're kind of moving forward in a positive direction. We've got 2 final candidates.
Is there anything you would do different this round than last round?
I think we added the assessment center because we have a couple of finalists. Okay. I think that knowing after going through the first round and the disappointment of having a candidate drop out after an offer had been accepted. We kind of learn from that and try to not keep our hopes too high in all reality. But we're in a time period right now. I was talking to a colleague from Charlevoix, and it took them a period of time as well to hire a new police chief who they've just brought her on. But it's a difficult process. They were lucky their new police chief had moved to Charlevoix 2 years ago and was looking to get back into police work. That job is not something that everybody wants to do anymore. In particular, not just law enforcement, but being the head law enforcement officer for an organization. It's just like anybody wants to be a mayor. And Mark's now done both of them. So he's really crazy. But in all reality, it's tough. People are they see the pain and the frustration and the public exposure that some of these people will go through, and they don't want to do that. And so what I think from my perspective is as soon as we hire somebody on board, get them out in positive ways in front of the community, whether that's with you, Chris, essentially day one, and getting them in with the newspapers and our digital platforms and getting them out in front of the community, really trying to just embrace this person.
All right. Make sure they're hired first before you put them in front of me. Okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right. No, it's good. Mark, from your standpoint, again, from the mayor, former police chief, would you have that conversation with these candidates, and what would that conversation be like?
Well, first of all, and we had the opportunity in the past to speak with somebody that was looking to come here, and just encouraging them that it's critical, it's crucial that whoever comes here understands that their interface with the public is just absolutely one of their first priorities, and to be willing to do that and able to do that, to interact with people and communicate with people. You're really, as a police chief, you're really the spokesperson, really, for in some cases the city, but certainly for the police department, because a lot of times people's interactions with the police department is their interaction with the city. So being able to do that and to empathize with people in their time of need and that kind of thing is pretty important.
Do you think that we have, and I'll transition here into another topic because I know, Mitch, we were short on time with you, got about 10 minutes there, but is there, with the current staffing at the police department here in Ludington, are they strained? Are they, this has been, six to 8 months now, right? If not that. Do you think that they're feeling the pressure of this? Are they kind of putting the, hey, we need to get somebody in here? Or, and again, I know the normal statement would be, you know what, they're just doing their job, doing their duty, they're picking up the slack and so on and so forth. But sometimes that wears on them after a while, right? Mitch or Mark, go ahead.
Yeah, I think just from my perspective, first of all, you need to, and everybody needs to know, they have a group of great men and women on the police department. They really want to do the right thing. They want to provide the service for the city of Ludington and solve problems and help people. So in that respect, it is kind of business as usual. But I think with anybody, anytime you're anticipating getting a new boss in, I think there's, as you say, there's some curiosity or what that's going to be like and how that's going to change or what things are going to change. So I do think that we need to kind of put a cork in it and be done with it and just kind of and move on. Yeah. I'm excited about it. To be honest with you, I'm very excited about what this new chief would hold for the city of Ludington Police Department and the city in general.
But what happens? I mean, I say it. What happens if you don't hire somebody this time? What do we do?
We continue on. I mean, there's truly no other option. I mean, you have to find a candidate, and whether that's just reposting and figuring everything else out, contacting other candidates. There might be another circumstance where a past candidate that was interested at one point may be interested again in the future. Okay. Timing matters a lot with these searches. I will tell you that from a kind of a department standpoint, obviously interim chief Wietrowski, Captain Wietro, he is taking on the brunt of this work, but he is working with Sergeant Smith, Sergeant Haveman, Sergeant Fort, and Sergeant Maltby really to help dish those things out. And then Valerie in the front office, our full-time staff member in particular, has taken on almost all of the FOIA responsibilities in the time right now. So I think there's a little bit of that. And then adding in another part-timer in Laura, all of those office and our administrative employees are doing the best they can to try to help Steve in this time period.
All right, and for the FOIA requests, maybe less going forward would be a good idea.
I mean, I would love to say that to the public, but that is well within their right to ask for those items.
Yeah, absolutely. and again, hats off to our department, obviously to the men and women there that are truly picking up the slack. But they're doing a great job, and and hopefully that position will be filled here shortly. Let's talk Michaels. That's a rumor. Is it going to happen? Isn't it going to happen? I know Dr. Reamer was in last week, I think, here live with us on the morning show. I didn't ask him the question, but let's see what's going on at Michaels. Is there anything going on there?
We're having monthly calls with the Reamer team just to kind of keep up on all of the different projects and properties they own. Mm-hmm. And so the last conversation we had is they'll be looking at a spring start.
Okay. Yep. Cool. And the other rumor was, is the bank going to happen before Michaels? Or is what's going on there?
To my knowledge, that won't happen before, but you might. Again, this is, Dr. Reamer has to, make sure everything works for him and his organization. But I think you'll see Michaels get started at least before the bank gets started too.
All right. Yep. And looking forward to that. But certainly not before tourist season are we going to see much in regards to a hole filled with all there, right?
I think you might see it before the hole. I think you might see the hole get filled or get started before tourist season.
All right, yep. Looking forward to that. We'll keep ahead of that. Let's the sesquicentennial. Say that 3 times fast. 150 years, Ludington. We've got Mark a special council meeting, and let's talk about that for a moment.
Yep, we're planning a March 22nd at 6 p.m. at Emmanuel Lutheran Church, a commemorative council meeting, and really just an opportunity to mark that significant event, 150 years for the city of Ludington, huge event and huge opportunity to kind of highlight the history, things that have taken us from where we were to where we are, and recognize some folks that have served, and just looking forward to that. After that, at the 6:30 or 6 o'clock meeting will be a reception to follow in the fellowship hall there at the church. It was interesting, and we're thankful to be able to use that building because it's time-wise, that congregation was founded. 3 different congregations came together and founded that church in the same year as the city of Ludington was founded. And so that's a great opportunity to meet there, and then the building was built probably 10 years later, so if I'm remembering correctly. So it's just exciting to be able to do it there. Ludington High School Choir is slated to present a couple numbers. They'll be up in the loft with a backdrop of the pipe organ pipes, and just a great opportunity to mark the event.
All right. And a lot of history here in the city of Ludington, and hopefully people will explore those opportunities this year. Excuse me. Let's talk about 2 more things before we wrap up. Foster acquisition, what's going on there, Mitch?
Yep, so Foster Elementary, tonight City Council is looking to potentially approve an obsolete property rehabilitation tax certificate for them, essentially to allow them to pay essentially what they've been paying for taxes on that property so that they can invest more into the project and not have a higher tax bill for a period of time and allow for the redevelopment. We're looking at, 50-ish units over there between 1 and 3 bedrooms over the next couple of years. My understanding, at least last time I spoke with them, they're going to start with townhouses across Foster to the south. They're very nice looking, and they're going to have a nice big green open space in the center of those. And while they're doing the construction there, they're actually going to start on the demo at the main Foster School Elementary structure. So it's going to be a great project as they continue forward with it.
Well, fantastic. Hey, I got a cough drop. Thanks. I appreciate it. And then, thanks. And water. Look at that. Everybody's taking care of it. Chris, we're gonna make sure you're okay. Did I read? Am I reading here on the notes for the agenda for tonight that there's going to be a stop sign at North? Is there a stop sign at North Lewis and Haight Street or no?
There is, yes.
Okay.
So as of right now, when Lakeview School was still in existence, that Lewis and Haight intersection was a 4-way stop. It made sense. You had a lot of school traffic in that area. Now with no school there, the merits to have a stop sign there didn't make sense to the Public Safety Committee, and so that is one of several traffic controllers that council will be considering tonight.
All right.
Yep.
Anything else on the agenda that you want to bring up that we haven't talked about?
Oh, the Spark grant.
Yes.
Yeah. So the state, as a part of the giant amount of money coming from the federal government, created this Spark program, which is through the Parks and Recreation Division of the state, of the DNR. They are giving out several tens of millions of dollars across the state. And so the city was looking at kind of our laundry list of park facilities that need to be updated and fixed up. And so two that we thought we could combine just based on location was the replacement and rehabilitation of the Coppion Park bathrooms and fish cleaning station, and a replacement and fixing of the Coppion Park launching ramps. Those launching ramps are original with the junk wood underneath it, and it's just been continuously deteriorating, and that restroom needs a refreshing. And so trying to do those together where the state is not requiring a financial match, but we're going to put in 10% because we already had it budgeted for a few years from now. We'll see what happens. But the state has about $40 million that they're going to be giving out, I think, in this round, which is a good opportunity for us to at least try.
Yeah. When will we know if we're receiving some of that money or not?
So that's the interesting thing about the Spark grant is the first round due dates were in December, January timeframe, and they still haven't announced the winners of those or the awardees. Okay. And they said that the next round would be in spring of 2023, and then there'll be a round in summer of 2023. Well, we haven't heard a specific date. So tonight, council is going to approve the resolution to apply so that we're ready to go with all the documentation as soon as that due date is announced.
And did we apply back in December too or not?
We did not know because we didn't have all our ducks in a row. And frankly, we also wanted to see who was getting it and who was not. Because there's an actual panel of folks that are reviewing these applications. Typically, the DNR looks at an application. It's all internal DNR staff. They've got people from the Michigan Municipal League, Michigan Township Association, different outside DNR people reviewing them. And so it's kind of interesting to find out kind of what they're looking for in projects. And so we're hoping that we can take a step back once we see that first round and say, does this still fit? If so, let's move forward.
All right, good information there. And Mark, my final question for you, and I know Mitch has to leave here in a second, is with something like that, with those grants that are rolling in, that always helps the community, right? I mean, we need improvements we need things and funds to continue to help the community.
Absolutely. And we just look forward to being able to utilize these funds. And of course, these funds come from tax funds and service fees and that kind of thing in terms of grants in general. So it's really a matter of opportunity of bringing some more local money that was sent away and bringing it back here to the community. So just look forward to those opportunities.
All right. Sounds good. Mitch Foster, City Manager of Ludington, Mark Barnett, Mayor of Ludington. We appreciate both of you for coming in today. We're going to continue to keep these conversations open. 2 weeks from now, we have another city council meeting, right? All right. Yep. And we'll have you back here in the studio. If you missed any of this segment, you can watch it in its entirety on our Facebook page at WMOM and as well on our YouTube channel at 1027 WMOM. It is 8:56 on your station playing your hit music. It is Mom FM.
You've got Michigan's hit music.